abuse of prescription drugs by young people is on the rise, and the abuse of prescription drugs by young people is on the rise, and the CSRA is not immune to this very real issue.
A lot of young people think prescription drugs are less risky because they're prescribed by a doctor. Preventing domestic violence, it is the goal of a panel comprised of some heavy hitters, the state's attorney general, law enforcement agencies, and advocacy groups.
Hi everyone. 4 years after the invasion of Iraq, it's a good time to take stock. Since the war began, 3,192 U.S. troops have been killed, more than 24,000 wounded, at least 50,000 Iraqi civilians have died.
It's war.
Welcome home to another exciting episode of War. We're all recovering. I'm your man, Stryker. This is not a podcast where we pretend life is easy. This is where we talk about the wars people fight in silence, okay? The wars inside the mind, inside the family, inside the world. And today is personal for me because my son is 13 years old and he's autistic. So this conversation is not content to me. It's real life. Today's guest is Sam Mitchell. Sam is the voice behind Autism Rocks and Rolls, a platform built to remove stigma, change the language around autism, prove one message loud and clear. People on the spectrum are not broken, and they do not need to be fixed. Autism Rocks and Rolls is also a nonprofit, and Sam is the executive director. Sam, welcome to War.
Hey, brother. Good to be on War.
Thank you. This means a lot to me. So, Sam, I appreciate you being here, for the people meeting you for the first time, in your own words, tell them who you are.
All right, so what I do, and I'm Sam Mitchell, by the way, I run a podcast called Autism Rocks and Rolls. It's a podcast about autism and how we cope with daily struggles that you may or may not understand. Through the podcast, it has grown so much, I developed sponsors, a board of 6 members. I'm an event planner in Indiana, my hometown, which is where I'm from, and I do motivational speaking services. It's taken me all over the place, including places from all the way down to Orlando, Florida, including all the way up north in Canada.
I love that, Sam. And I used to live, in Orlando, by the way, just a little bit outside Orlando. And my wife is from Canada. So look at that. This was meant to be. And I respect that because authenticity is the whole reason people listen, And they do not, they don't connect to perfection, they connect to truth. And you said clearly that you have autism, but you are not broken and you do not need to be fixed. Where did that confidence come from, especially when the world often tries to label people?
That came from getting kind of mad at people, getting mad at school, getting mad at the system, getting mad at being bullied, excluded, all the stereotypes you can imagine. What I had to do was quit people pleasing, and my friend, that was the best decision of my life. Because to this day, I feel a lot better about myself. I have friends, and I gained self-confidence. I started a podcast when I joined my high school's media club, and that was really when the transition began professionally, but also began there personally just because of, I think, the bear finally roared and decided enough is enough.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations. I love that. Congratulations on your podcast. You're doing big things. And that right there is what people needed to hear. The world tries to hand you identity. You decide to build your own. I love that. So, Sam, you were diagnosed with autism when you were young. About what age did you get diagnosed? 4. Okay, what do you remember about growing up autistic, especially socially and emotionally?
Well, I wish I could haul my parents down, and it's not the fact they don't want to be on, it's just they're kind of busy at the moment, but what I can tell you that I remember, and I don't remember much because I've slept since then, unfortunately, but what I do know is, according to my parents, I was showing classic textbook symptoms, not looking at you when you send my name, not looking at the camera, also not really saying words until I was late on. I hit my milestones pretty late.
Right, right, right. My son was diagnosed around 3 or 4 also, and he's still like nonverbal, I would say for the most part. He speaks, but only when like prompted or when he really wants something. You know, he knows how to say words, but he doesn't speak in sentences. Only when he wants something really bad, he'll ask for like his tablet. He'll say, "I want my tablet, please." Only when he wants it real bad, you know. But
Right?
other than
There's
that,
some
he
days,
doesn't
man,
speak.
and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I shouldn't wish this, but I kind of sometimes wish I was non-speaking. And it's not because I hate people. It's just the way people socialize exhausts the crap out of me, and it makes me so tired that I don't want to do it.
Right, right. Thank you, thank you. I thank you so much for that. You know, because now I'm seeing. I kind of figured that's what was going on. That's what's going on with him. You know, like his senses is just too overwhelming for him. You know, like even with me, like I don't like to speak to people at all. You know, like so I could imagine him. You know, so thanks be for being straight about it because families watching need to hear this. Honesty. Not sugar.
I still do socialize, but would I want to if I had a choice? No. But I'm smart enough to see that it's a very isolating life when you avoid people all the way.
Right, right.
And no one wants that. It's not good for our mental health. Let's be realistic.
Right, right. Yeah, I feel
I know
you.
in your podcast, it says we're all recovering. In a life of isolation, you can recover from it, but I don't really have any sympathy for you if you put yourself in there.
I hear you. I hear you. Yep, that's
Now, if
why
it's
I say
alcoholism, different story. But I just meant you're just an ordinary person who just doesn't want to socialize.
right, right. I get that. So let me bring my son into it for a second. When my son struggles, I can see he is not trying to be difficult. You know, he's trying to regulate. So, what do you wish more parents understood about what autism feels like from the inside?
What I wish people would understand from more about autism from the inside is we do think differently, but at the end of the day, who cares? Because it can change the aspects of life. We're more creative than others. We don't like to think outside of the box. And I think sometimes we want to try to spit out our idea. It just doesn't come across the correct way.
Right. That's powerful. That's powerful, man. Because it helps, parents stop treating it like defiance and start treating it like communication. That's what a lot of people need to understand, you know. And something I respect, about you. You started Autism Rocks and Rolls as a teenager and it grew into something big, What problems were you trying to solve when you started?
The problems I was trying to solve when I started were trying to figure out how to do it, first of all, but also the problems that I did have when I first started was getting the podcast set up, trying to gain the confidence to speak to the world because I wasn't used to it. I mean, being excluded, you don't talk to people after a while because you give in.
Right.
And this whole 23.5K downloads of someone actually hitting the play button, I've been included still less and more than now, but it's a feeling I'm still getting used to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you on every platform out there?
Yep.
Like,
Yep,
yeah?
I'm not hard guy to find. You can find me on your favorite media platform. Google me in your search engine
Okay.
optimization. Something will pop up. Just don't do
Excellent.
Sam Mitchell. Do Autism Rocks and Rolls. I've done the research. And if you do Sam Mitchell, that's fine, but you'll get a basketball player.
Okay. Okay. Sam Mitchell, the basketball player. Okay. Who he
You
play
don't,
for?
you don't want that. You don't want that if you want to find my information. You want to find Autism Rocks and Rolls. That's what you search.
Right, right, right. Got it. Got it. I'll make sure to keep that in the description too when people search for you. So you say your mission is to destigmatize autism and change the language, because autism is brain wiring and can't be celebrated. What words or attitudes do you want gone forever?
Well, stigmatize is one word I want gone forever, but exclusions are where I want gone forever. I want unemployed to be gone forever. There's a population of people with autism that don't have jobs, and that population is 85%.
Right, right. Wow, I did not know that. And that what scares me a lot is this is just to sidestep a little bit, is I seen a video, with the autistic guy being apprehended by police. And it kind of went south because they didn't understand he was autistic and they ended up shooting him. It happened in Florida somewhere. And that disturbed me. So I wish, more law enforcement got training about autistic, people, because I'm just scared to have my son out there and, for him to have a meltdown and police take it the wrong way,
You're not alone in that feeling. I feel the exact same way. I just think part of the problem is the way they're trained. I mean, I get some instances you do have to be forceful, but I think in some situations they need to tone it back, and they need to find out the cues of when to tone it back, because
Right.
if not, you end up with the situation that happened in Florida.
Right, right. That's scary, man. Yeah. So let's move on. You talk a lot about structure and routine, as something that helps, not something that cages you. And your TED, you had a TED message, has been structured, with autism. When life gets loud, what does structure do for you?
It gives me sense and calmness in an unpredictable world, because let's face it, this world can be very one-sided and not only unpredictable, but things happen very suddenly. Your grandfather could die today. You could get a car crash today. Heck, someone could have a seizure today. And it changes your plans. Okay, I don't like that. And personally, I get there's no way to go around it. But in my mind, I have to do something. So what I do is I have created structure and routines in my life to give me that sense of, okay, I know this will happen.
Right. Right.
And it evens it out from the times that, okay, I have an unexpected death in the family and I can't do anything about it.
Hmm. Hmm. That helps families immediately, People hear routine and think control. What you explaining is stability, you know. So that's what people need to get. I like that. I like that. So for a parent listening, what are 3 practical ways to build a structure that actually helps, without turning the house into a pressure cooker?
Right, that's a good way to put it. I would say the best way to create structure is follow the same certain routines every day you can. So in the morning, it's a great example. I have the exact same routine I can. I mean, it's getting up, it's eating breakfast, taking meds, brush teeth, deodorant. I mean, it's the same ordeal every day, every morning, no matter
Okay.
what day of the week it is.
Right, right. And you got
And
to,
if I do have to change it, okay, change it, but get adjusted to it. And if you can't, that routine may need to take over. And you got to find a way to work with the life issue that got in your way with the routine and the routine itself. You got to find a way to either change it or combine the two together. That may
that's
include
real.
brushing your teeth while walking to work, but you're still doing it at that same time. At that same time,
Right, exactly. That's real value right there, man. That's guidance people can use today. So, like Sam, what do you handle routine changes okay, or does it bother you?
We came a long way from there. Let's put it that way. When I
Okay.
was younger, no. I mean, once upon a time I had a meltdown at school because my mother didn't tell me we were going to Walmart after school, and I had a big temper tantrum meltdown. It was disastrous. Day, not as much. I'm pretty laid back with it. If it's a change in my routine of the morning one, okay, fine. My kicker is when it comes to things I spent money on and I can't get a refund on it,
Hmm.
or the podcast. I'm very tedious on those two.
Right.
If I pay money to go see AC/DC and they call me and say, hey, we called it off, we're not doing that. You're giving me my money back, or you're going to give me a private concert.
Right. That's funny. Like I have meltdowns over that money situations too. Like for instance, my wife ordered a TV to be delivered that Walmart said was in stock online, and it was supposed to be delivered the same day, and it cost about $300. And they charged the card, and later sent a message that said they didn't have it in stock to choose another one, or other. Why did you have it online if it wasn't in stock? And then 10 business days to get a refund. Like, if you could take my money out right then and there and, false advertise something online and don't have it in stock and have to refund me my money, send me my money back right away. It shouldn't be 10 business days. I don't understand that. So I
It
had,
shouldn't, but my thing is, too, at the same time, they did it. And sometimes it's better late than never. So I'm at the point where, okay, if it's 10 days, sure. But add 10 more, yeah, I might be calling them and throwing a fit.
right. I'm dealing with it, man. I'm dealing with it, man. I'm trying, but thank you for that. Talking to you, I try to use, take that into account and just calm down over it. So, you said there is no normal and your work pushes inclusion, not pity. Okay? When people pity autistic people, which I hate, what does that do to the conversation?
What it does, it underestimates us. It doesn't show us what we can do. It focuses on what we can't do. And I think sometimes there are certain people in certain positions that focus on the can't. We need to focus maybe on the can. I'm not saying that should go out in the outhouse. No, that needs to be a focus. But that shouldn't be the big picture. It should be half negative, half the positive. Sure, maybe we think at the same time, okay, he may have meltdowns at Walmart. But do you know what he can do? He can memorize all the Grand World Series.
Mm,
Let's tap into that. Let's see if we can get him to be a baseball player.
I love that. I love that. Yes. Focus on the positive. I love that. Exactly. Because, pity sounds kind, but it still puts you beneath someone. So I hate that.
Yeah, a great example is I can give you one right now. If my parents focused on the podcast right now, and they are very supportive of it, but they are a little worried because with some things in society, there are things I do refuse to take advice on or conform. And one of them in particular might get me in trouble, but I told my parents this, and I'm still sticking by it. I don't care.
Mm,
The reason being is so stupid.
mm. Okay. I feel that. I feel that, Sam. I feel that. So you're in college, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
graduated with an associate's degree in broadcasting, currently looking for a full-time job.
Okay. Okay. You speak publicly, you run this platform, your podcast, you book guests, you build partnerships, you're doing it all. What does success mean to you beyond money and numbers?
Success means to me, beyond money and numbers, is doing something and what's making you happy, regardless of how kind of strange or quirky it might be.
Mm, that definition is strong. I love it. Everything you're saying, man, I'm feeling it.
The only rule is
Purpose.
you don't cross the line
Right.
of illegally. That's it.
Say that again?
You don't cross the line of illegalness,
Okay.
if that's a word.
Right, right. Definitely. Right. Okay. Purpose driven success is the kind that lasts, man. That's true. And your show has featured major names, including Dr. Temple Grandin, and you've built real traction with your platform. I'm feeling that. When you get a big guest or a big moment, what do you want the audience to walk away with every single time?
That these celebrities have a heart. Some celebrities, they have it in for the money, but they're using their platform to elevate my platform by
Right,
helping me out. Not
right,
all celebrities are like that, but there are lots of them like that.
right. Definitely. Man, don't let me get to talking about, the celebrities. I've ran into a few that aren't like that, that's just money, 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 money. Not about elevating anyone. So, it's a very select few out there though that I've, ran into that it's all about elevating other people, you know. It need to be more.
There does. I mean, there's great stories of it. I've seen one of my guests who I've had recently went from playing a terrorist on WWE to now being a teacher and
Mm,
being in the education field. I think
see?
he's in HR now in the school district. That's pretty positive.
Yeah, and that's leadership, You're not chasing clout, you using attention for impact. I love that. That's leadership. So, if you could think, what is one interview moment that changed how you see yourself?
I mean, there's a lot of interview moments that are spectacular, but I think that there's some out there who feel better about them than my own self. I had a guest a while back ago, and she said all she is pure happy. That's not
Hmm.
me. I mean, I have a heart of gold and are willing to be happy for the most part, but there's some Venom Marvel black things around it because I'm afraid to let that guard down because of going back to what happened when I was 15 years old.
Wow. What happened when you were 15 years old, if you don't
Grooming,
mind?
bullying, stereotype, considered drinking because I wanted to sleep it off. Not to get drunk, to sleep it off.
Right.
Not what 15-year-olds should think that.
Exactly. Exactly. Whew. This is deep. This is deep for me, man. Especially what you just said. And this, you said you had a guest that said she's always happy. Who is this guest? I need to talk to her. I want to know
Her
what's
name,
making
I'm
her.
pretty sure she won't mind me saying it, but she's probably one of my favorite guests I've had on.
Wow, I need
Gabby
to.
Ito, or Gabrielle Ito, and she's went. Her story is very similar to mine, and she's like a digital savant.
Wow, I would like to check her out and get her on here and see what her trick is. That's amazing. Okay, okay. So let's talk about Autism Rocks and Rolls. Autism Rocks and Rolls is a nonprofit now, and you are building a bigger mission. What are you trying to build that does not exist yet?
An inclusive place for all.
Hmm.
I mean, a place where someone with a disability that's mental or physical doesn't get seen as a burden to society.
Man, Sam, I love that. That's kind of aligned with what I'm doing, with what war is. This is a place for everybody. I'm trying to, that's why I say we're all recovering for something, from something. I don't believe there's one person out there that's not. That's one reason why I would like to talk to your guest and see what's going on. Like, what's her trick? So, on your website, you also offer services like motivational speaking, podcast coaching, and work tied to education and business support.
Yeah, that's
What does
what I'm
your
doing
idea?
more as the podcast coaching because I think it's just fun and I think anyone can do it with
Right.
the right resources and tips. It's just that some people don't know where to start.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I have to talk to you offline too, man. You doing it all. You probably got some tips that could help me. I know you got tips that could help me. So, what does your ideal partnership look like? You know, the kind
The
of two.
partnership with me is where we pretty much scratch each other's back. I
Hmm,
help by advertise, they help me by doing something for me. That's my only requirement. And there's different types of partners. Clearly, there's some for the podcast, there's some for the events, and then we're trying to work on getting sponsors for the trips I take because I want to do more speaking, but my board will only pay for 2 a year, and as much as I can accept it, I definitely want to strive for more opportunities.
that's clear. That's clear right now. You know, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You know, if people want to help now, they know how to help with purpose. That's clear. Straight to the point. I want to ask you something direct. You know, what is the hardest part about being autistic that people never see?
The hardest part is the times I feel like garbage because it's feels like anguish and it's so bad that sometimes it's not wanting to be around people. I
Hmm,
mean, who gets to that point? I mean, I know some people might get tired and exhausted, but there's this other phase called burnout, and this burnout of just not wanting to deal with others and not dealing with the way they socialize, not dealing with the way they carry themselves. Because if we try to carry ourselves our way, it won't work. Doesn't work
right,
too well. And that can be such a challenge for us that not a lot of people see. Because if they do see it, they might call the police. Or if they see it, they might think we're some creepy, crazy lunatic.
mm, mm. So, Sam, I would like to ask you another question. You know, most people, including myself, you know, that, you know, even though I have experience, you know, with autism, um, what's like, describe a day in your life as far as like, you know, your senses, because we all hear about, you know, the autistic people have their senses are heightened more than other people. Can you explain that and go deeper? Like, how's your senses of hearing, sight, you know,
Well,
sound,
that's
things like that?
very true, I would say. A lot of times it's true. I think someone said it best. It was my latest guest that said it. We can be more aware of reality and how the world operates sometimes, I think, than others are aware. I mean, right now I'm struggling with the employment line and trying to find a full time job. They don't think ahead. Someone else who might be person B will think, now I'm finding a job, and if not, I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. Not how my brain works. I operate in plan A. This is what we're doing this year. Plan B is this year. Here's what we're doing in 2026. Plan C is what we're doing in 2027. Plan D is 2028. Does it stress myself out when I think of it? Sure. But when I get to the end result, do I feel better? Yes. Because I
Yeah,
have a plan now.
definitely, definitely. What about sound? Is sound more heightened, or is it, you know, something
Yeah,
that, you
I would
know,
say so. I would say sound is more heightened because of just how we are neurologically.
right, right, right. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for saying it out loud, you know, and that gives people, you know, the, you know, perspective and language to what families and autistic people feel every day, you know, and, you know, people need to be more educated on it. So, you know, what do you say to the autistic kid who feels like the world would never make space for them?
Well, I would have to say sometimes, and this is the unfortunate truth, they think society is against them. I think it's partially true, but I don't believe everybody is against them. There's someone out there, or there's something out there that will take you in. And for the longest time, I can add to this piece of advice for you. I thought for the longest time no one would find me interesting. Well, now I realize that thought was stupid because although for 15 years of exclusion I thought no one would, now I see that's not the case. There's 8 billion people on Earth. It's unrealistic for all 8 billion people to find you uninteresting. Someone will. It might be someone you don't expect. It could be a World War II veteran. Could be your own grandfather. Could be your next door neighbor. It could be someone in California or Oregon. But you know what? It's someone. And as they say, something is better than nothing.
That right there is a lifeline. And Sam, just so you know, for the record, I find you very interesting. And
that's proof right there. Someone will. You're in, I think, from what I looked at your matchmaker profile, San Diego. But do you know what? At this point in my life, I don't care the distance. Someone finds me interesting. One person. Whoop-de-doo, I did what I need to do. I can go on now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And salute to you. Sam, where can people find you, support your mission and follow Autism Rocks and Rolls?
AutismRocksandRolls.com. I'm not a hard guy to find. Just go to that website, check out the podcast, check out my services. There's some speaking gigs on there. I have some press releases. There's a lot of things that show my success, but at the end of the day, when I lay my head on the pillow, it's to change a population, you want a population specifically, about how we are mistreated and how we should be fairly treated more.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for doing this work. Really respect it, and I love that you're doing it. And, just keep it up. Just keep it up. Don't quit. And I respect you. And I want you to know that this meant something to me as a father, because my son is living this journey too.
Right, and he's probably at that phase right now where times are confusing. I mean, I'm just going through personal experience. That 13 and 14-year-old phase was probably the most confusing time of my life. So I'm not saying he's in the same boat as me. I could be wrong. But I'm just going by what I know. And from what I've seen in most people with autism, that age phrase, it's like, where am I? Who am I? What am I going to do?
Right. And going through puberty at the same time, going through puberty as a young man, dealing with, not being able to, express himself, everything that's going on in the world, and not wanting people to be all in his face all the time and people not understanding him. But I'm like, Dad understands you, baby. I understand you. I pull him away from situations like that and just let him, woosah, just relax, and get it all together. So I appreciate you, Sam, and to everyone watching, this is the mission. Stop treating autism like a tragedy, all right? Start treating autistic people like humans with gifts, needs, and a future. Sam, brother, thank you again for what you're doing, your work. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to a lot of other people out there. And, just keep doing you, man. I appreciate it.
That's all you can do, my friend, and thank you again for your time. Please, listeners, check my podcast out, and I hope you take something from what I have to offer.
Yes, sir. And to the people out there, remember, it's war. Each one reach one. We're all recovering. Peace.
The invasion of Iraq is a good time to take stock. Since the war began, 3,192 U.S. troops have been killed, more than 24,000 wounded. At least 50,000 Iraqi civilians have died.
It's war.